Welcome, brothers. Today we're going to be talking about forgiveness when it comes to ending your porn addiction. I'm J.K. Amazy, head coach at Reboot and founder of Elevated Recovery. We help ambitious men, professionals, leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners end your out-of-control behavior with pornography, sex, or masturbation discreetly within 90 days. Now, what comes to mind when you hear the word forgiveness? Now, you may recall perhaps the religion of your childhood. Maybe you think of resentment you're trying to let go of, or maybe someone you're working on forgiving in your life. Or you might think of the need for forgiveness in your own life from people who were harmed by your out-of-control behavior. I believe forgiveness is a forgotten skill. It empowers you to overcome some of the things that hold you back in most of your reboots. Now, hanging on to anger keeps you a prisoner of your emotions. Learning to forgive provides the freedom that you've been looking for in many different avenues up to this point. I want to ask you, are you harboring like a grudge against certain things that were said or done to you in the past? I want you to know that it's difficult to reach the later stages of your reboot if you don't let go of past harms that were done to you. However, you likely aren't sure how to get to that point, to the point where you can release them. And that's why I consider forgiveness to actually be a skill that you need to work on. So let's do this. Take a moment to recall some of the worst times of your life with your out-of-control sexual behavior, maybe your porn addiction, some of the worst things you've ever done. And if you're like me, or anything like me, I said and did things that caused a lot of harm to other people. My words and my actions, they resulted in, honestly, emotional, physical, financial, and psychological damage for a lot of people. I destroyed a lot of relationships because of pornography and masturbation. They were more important to me than anything else. And sometimes today, I still cringe at the terrible things that I did in my past and the hurt that I caused others. I also found that I was holding a lot of grudges when I first ended my behavior with porn and masturbation. I was so angry at other people for the way they treated me. Despite the awful things I had done, I was so angry at women who rejected me, friends who said things behind my back. And even though I had hurt them, it didn't stop me from feeling angry for being mistreated or for taking advantage of them in different situations. And safe to say, I had a lot of baggage when I finally decided to control my out-of-control behavior. But forgiveness was honestly the last thing on my mind. In order for me to reboot though, I had to release some of the weight I was carrying because, truthfully speaking, it was too painful to carry on. It wasn't until later that I realized that letting go of some of that weight was actually the first step to forgiveness. Religious leaders, will have you believing that happiness begins with others. Right? That you need to turn the other cheek and not hold grudges for the things that were done to you. And while that's a good place to begin from, while those are useful skills to develop, they're likely to feel impossible when you first begin to reboot, right? So it's nice to hear, but you're not going to have any idea how to get started. So you can begin at a much simpler level when learning to forgive. Forgiveness actually begins with you, brother. It starts with forgiving yourself for the harmful behavior you've engaged in for so many years. Learning to forgive yourself frees you from the heavy load of guilt and shame that you've carried around for so long. And as you truly embrace forgiveness for yourself, you'll find a sort of lightness in the world that you never imagined possible. Once you're able to forgive yourself, you can then extend forgiveness to other people, right? So think about all the people that you've carried grudges against, you've held grudges against, you've felt resentment for, right? Recall each grudge, each resentment, and then take some time to think about whether it's worth continuing to carry it, or whether it's just time to forgive them, to let go of that baggage and move forward, right? That's going to be easier, of course, when you've forgiven yourself. Something many people mistake about forgiveness is that, we sometimes think it's for the other person, right? We believe that we need to forgive someone for that person's sake. But forgiveness is for you, not for others. Forgiveness is a process that frees you from the mental strain and the burden that's caused by carrying all that anger, all that frustration, and all that bitterness. So once you forgive someone, you no longer allow them or their behavior to weigh you down. That's basically what's happening. Those resentments that you've carried for years actually play a significant role in what holds you back from success and happiness when it comes to rebooting. But at the same time, this doesn't absolve you of responsibility for the harm that you've actually caused, right? While forgiveness is for the person doing the forgiving, it doesn't mean that you get away with doing what you did. I want to make that clear. You must still acknowledge your wrongdoings and make restitution, right? That means make up for the wrong things you did wherever you can. A simple sorry oftentimes is it's not enough either, right? So you've made apologies for years. All I'll say about it, because everyone's situation is different, is that it's time to make genuine amends for the ways that you've harmed other people. Once you can forgive yourself, facing the people you hurt becomes a lot more tolerable. You know that you're no longer the same person, and now you can stand firm in your newfound convictions. And as you continue to work on yourself, forgiveness will remain a constant and important part of maintaining emotional balance and well-being in your reboot. So that's my little thing on forgiveness. You can learn more about the process of forgiveness. We have systems for everything within our program. By joining our free Facebook group, you can get access to it using the link in the description below this video. You can also pick up a copy of our course called Rewire Your Desire, which is a very simple habit course to help you build up the habits that are necessary to move you on to a reboot lifestyle. You can also schedule a call with one of our reboot strategists to find out if you're a good fit for one of our coaching programs. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I'll speak to you later on.